Welcome to week 27 of What Did Prince Do This Week. We have Anna B first in the chat, and we have April from Tampa. And we got Kimberly, hot and humid in West Fargo, North Dakota. Hope everyone is hydrating and keeping cool. Michael Dean, what's the weather been like in Seattle?
Well, Angela, we've been experiencing high temperatures here in the 90s. Actually, yes, pretty hot. We're about to get into the 90s play.
Yeah.
We don't have air conditioning out here, so we got to push through it.
It was very hot and humid yesterday in New York City, and I actually went to the giant exhibition at the Brooklyn Museum, which is Alicia Keys and Swiss Beats art collection, which is phenomenal. And I learned that they have the largest private collection of Gordon Parks photography, which is, one of the most premier photographers of all time. So that was really exciting. And they had this huge Kehinde Wiley painting. If you don't know who Kehinde Wiley is, do your Googles, as Michael Dean would say. And yes, so actually the exhibition is only going on today and tomorrow. Tomorrow's the last day. So if you're in the tri-state area and you want to get your art on and you want to see some amazing art, because they collect nothing but Black artists, and it was an amazing exhibition. So but it was hot.
Yes, if we would have queued up the song "Hot Summer." Would have been like perfect thing.
Yes, if only.
We got a hot cease and desist too.
Yes, we sure would have. All right, Drea Dances. Welcome. It's a lovely day here in the Shy. That's what's up, though. Andre Staley. Any rumors, news about any new releases this year? Not for me. What about you, Michael Dean?
Nothing that I heard, but if you haven't already, you can go listen to Purple Rain, Atmos, or what came out last year. Diamonds and Pearls. You can still jam that.
You can still jam that, and then also don't forget about the Purple Rain 4K. It looks so sweet.
4K, yeah.
Rain 4K.
Oh, you know what? Have you ever watched it with the commentary? It's
No.
not a new commentary, but it's a commentary they've had with the movie for a while.
If I did, it was like 5,000 years ago.
Watch it again with it. I was actually kind of blown. I forgot a lot of stuff, and when you hear how they shot that movie, it's just like wow. And I think one thing with the 4K, real quick, I will say, is you can really see the lighting of these shots and how dope the lighting is and how they were framed. You've seen them so many times, but to see them in exquisite color and detail, it's like they did some amazing stuff in that movie. For a second time director, I think he was. He did some great stuff. And there was one shot, I'm trying to remember what it was. And he said he was inspired by George Lucas, the director in the commentary. I can't remember what shot it was. He was like, "Yeah, I got that from George Lucas to do that in the movie." I was like, "Okay, Star Wars, I see."
Speaking, since we're talking about movies, I was really impressed yesterday by this Twitter thread, and I can't remember. Just do your Googles on Twitter. This guy did a shot-by-shot comparison of Manhunter, which is a movie directed by Michael Mann, versus Red Dragon. And
versus which movie?
Red Dragon. So it's actually based on the same book. It's actually the name of the book is Red Dragon. But one was, shot in one decade and another one was shot in another decade. And he went into this insane deep dive, which I was like, oh my God, this is pretty incredible. So if you're into your movies like Michael Dean and I are, then you might want to do your Googles and also check out Michael Mann. And if you don't know who Michael Mann is, I'm sure you heard of the movie Heat, which starred De Niro and Pacino.
Yes.
That's Michael Mann. And so
they say in 30 seconds or something, you got to be ready to drop everything. Heat calling.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, so Manhunter is actually one of Michael Mann's earlier films before Heat. So if you want to see growth and how a director can move from, one film to another, highly suggest that you watch Manhunter. All right. So we got to get through our good mornings. We got a good morning, Nick Felden. Thank you so much for
What
your
up, Nick?
DM. Really appreciate it. Always keeping me up on what's going on because I'm not on the socials a lot. And Christina, welcome from beautiful Minneapolis. Perfect weather day. Break it down
Nice.
for us. What is a perfect weather day in Minneapolis? And then we got Ronald Dagley Jr., if I'm saying this correctly, from Maryland. Welcome always. We got Purple Cat Confetti from Denver. We got Sister Chaw from H-Town. We got Mila My Heart. We got Dorothy Edwards in the house. The Purple
What
Magnet drew me in again.
up,
Yes,
Dorothy?
every day. Purple Magnet. Yes. And then we got Dr. Claw. Good morning, Dr. Claw, visiting Buffalo this weekend. I've only been to Buffalo once for a wedding. And it
What's up,
was,
Claw?
yeah. All right.
Wow, we see you holding down those spaces on X there, Claus. I see you. Got everybody under surveillance.
Oh, okay.
I'm like Batman.
And we got Tanja from Oven Hot DC.
All through the night.
Already
Shout out to Tanja. Tanja is my partner on Switch the Style Up podcast. So we're coming back. We're gonna get it together. Everybody got to get in the right, get healthy. We're gonna get on the mic soon enough.
Yes. And we have Gisela from Germany. And we got Chris Bornay. Happy Saturday from Muggy, Columbus, Ohio. And we got Vanessa, who was my concert buddy. We went to go see Hiatus Coyote. Well, we didn't go together.
Oh,
We found each other in the crowd.
What's
we were
up,
in
Vanessa?
the right side of the hall, the Brooklyn Paramount, which we're going to talk about later because it's a stunning
That song, they do a song. Is that what? Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. I'm probably butchering it. Anyway, it's a song. Did Prince promote them or something at one point, or put them out?
I'm sure.
I got it on.
I'm sure. So somebody in the comments, fill us in on the Hiatus Coyote Prince connections. I'm sure.
Yeah, there's gotta be.
Yeah, there's got to be.
Oh, you know what song I'm talking about? That sounds.
Yeah.
Is that who? Is it Broken Melodies? Anyway.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to go through this super quick because we're really behind. TP, welcome. Myron, welcome. Red Cat Up Rock. We got Christina, 90s in Seattle Nuts. Okay, Kim. Hey, we got Chip and Sparrow all the way from Japan. Hot Summer.
Yeah. I love that name. Chip and Sparrow.
That's right.
What's up, Raywin?
All right. And we got Man Ray 10. That's right. Hola, hola. And let's see. Yes, Nick, you got to keep jamming Diamonds and Pearls. It's really important. Arlene, agree. It never gets old.
It's just okay. My love. All right.
Didn't that make you feel good, though, Michael Dean?
It does.
It makes you feel good. That's right. That's what we're all about here. Got to we come here every Saturday to talk about a man that gave us so much darn music, films, everything. So that's
Fingerprints. That's Tanja. That's the song I was talking about.
Okay, Fingerprints. All right. All right. And good morning, Theo. It's so great to have you here as always. And look, we got Duane.
Duane. His name is very familiar. I can't think of it.
Welcome, Mr. Tudahl. Thank you for joining us in real time.
He wrote the book about all of the studio exploits of Melvin Riley from Ready for the World. In the quantum realm, that book is they're doing a Saturday morning show on Melvin Riley's.
Oh my God.
Oh Sheila, they're on chapter 16. Oh Sheila was written on.
Yes. Yeah. I want to spotlight this comment. Has anyone heard the instrumental Prince albums? There's a lot of instrumental Prince albums. All of them
Talking
are,
about like Madhouse?
yeah, we're talking about, there's News. I mean,
News?
yep. Tell us which one you're talking about. But we love all of them because that's what I'm talking about. We also got Rodney in the house, DC.
Rodney.
Thank you, Ronald, for letting me know I pronounced your name right, because sometimes I don't get it right, and I really appreciate it. And we got Jesse in the house. Blessings. I'm glad. We got so many people. Clarissa, welcome. Loving you. I love that pink outfit, magenta, whatever color it was at Celebration. Thank you so much. KMS 1984. I'm rocking an electric fetus because I'm still in Minneapolis. At least my heart is, but my body's somewhere else. And then we got, yes, that's amazing. George Lucas inspired some shots in Purple Rain. And let's see. Chris said, Bobby Z said a celebration of the First Avenue dressing room scenes were shot on a sound stage because the club's dressing rooms are too small. And yes, Michael Mann of Miami Vice fame. That is correct. And
Miami Vice.
Okay, so Raymond said they had the anniversary on the Cherry Moon in theaters on July 2nd. Okay, and speaking of which, I'm glad that you said that. Yes, I do too. So if you're in the tri-state area, the Alamo is going to have a special Purple Rain screening. They call it a movie party. So normally at Alamo theaters, they're really big on not talking. But when you do a movie party there, you can talk and sing and do whatever you want. So there are a lot of dates for Purple Rain at the Brooklyn location as well as a Lower Manhattan location. So if you want to get your Purple Rain on in a party vibe, yeah, that's how you get your Purple Rain on. They didn't say if I doubt they're playing the 4K because it seems like they would have advertised that they're playing the 4K. So I don't know, maybe they're actually, yep. Expectation, can't forget about it. Jesse.
Great album.
Yes, can't forget about that. But Red Cat Upright, it said these are all the studio albums and instrumental versions. I haven't heard all the studio albums and instrumental versions, and I'm afraid that they might be AI-ified. If that's the case.
Man, you saying you have that or something?
Yeah. What are you saying?
I'm smelling some purple cap. What you telling all these lies?
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Albums, instrument. That would be crazy though. Like,
yeah, it would be great. It would be amazing. Because if that's the case, I want all of them, meaning not just the Prince albums, but the Time albums and V6, A6, all of them. And Red Cat Upright responded, yes, sir.
Interesting. First time I've heard of that.
Yeah, me 5. All right. And then we got Tanja saying AMC is also doing a 40th anniversary screening. They just announced this week. Do you know, Tanja, if it's 4K? And Rodney is saying, sounds like rework of stems, removing the vocals. I'm wondering if they're using AI to remove the vocals, which always is problematic for me. I don't know, Mr. Oshun, if I can. It's so spontaneous. I don't even know that I'm doing it. So I don't know if I can. I don't know, Mr. Oshun, if you watched Flashdance before, but one of my favorite lines in Flashdance is in Jennifer Beals when someone asked her, like, can you do that move again? And she was like, no, I can't, because I just did it off the top. So I just did that off the top. All right. And let's see. Look at Theo. Theo said that they did an Under the Cherry Moon virtual watch party a few days ago. That's what I'm talking about. And Tanja is saying doesn't think that the AMC is going to be 4K, which is like not good. I mean, well, I guess you wanted to also see the 35 millimeter. But going back to what Michael Dean was saying, like looking at it in 4K, there's just so much detail and things that you normally wouldn't notice. And they did a great job on the restoration of that. Yes, yes. And then see what's her an extended version of the demo tape, instrumental version of Purple Rain from the movie on YouTube this morning. And I don't know what I just did, but that's okay. All right. So hold on one second. Okay. Let's get back. Let's see. Okay. Blake Brown is about to school us. There's a new drum machine there's new drum machines equipped with a sort of stem option that isolate vocals and instruments a lot cleaner, or so we're told. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. All right. So let's get into what did Prince do this week? Week number 27. And we're going week to week, not date to date. You can follow a detailed schedule either using this bit.ly link or the QR code. You do not need the expanded edition, but that's what we're reading by Duane Tudahl, who is in the chat. So we're excited when Duane can join us in the chat because he can correct us when we're wrong. All right. So these will be archived at Polished Solid as well as at MDean on YouTube. Please subscribe, like, help spread the word, all those social media things to keep everyone in. Oh, that reminded me. So I can't remember this guy this past week who did a reaction video. He's from the UK of the entire For You album. And I was really moved. It was like hearing For You for the first time. And I wanted to add it to the accompanying playlist. So I'll make sure that I do that afterwards. So if someone knows what I'm talking about, it was just released like last week. Please put it in the chat so I can give that person their just due. It was just so amazing. For You is one of my favorite albums. I don't know about you, Michael Dean. It's probably my top 5 of all Prince albums of all time because the songs are so good. The harmonies, the vocals, all the songs are just fire, 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 fire. So, yeah. Okay. What's Vanessa saying? Feels like I'm buying a DVD player for Prince releases. The one I bought last year for the Slam Slam show does not play 4K. Oh my no. Oh no. Yeah. You got to see it in 4K, or you can go over to a friend's house. So you have friends.
Or you can always buy the digital version, so you don't need a player.
Yeah, you can buy the digital version, and then also if you buy the 4K, you can download a digital version. You get a download code with if you buy the Blu-ray as well.
And for a lot of people, I realize this: if you had bought the digital version prior, go back and check. They upgraded it for free to 4K, so you already have it.
Oh wow! Okay, that's nice. That's actually really good information. Thanks for that, Michael Dean. All right, and there's a hashtag WDPDTW. And what is that for? That is what did Prince do this week? And I'm going to keep saying, what did Prince do this week? Because every time someone talks to me about this, they never say, what did Prince do this week? They said, what did Prince do today? Everything but what did Prince do this week? So it's called What Did Prince Do This Week? Because we're going week by week with Duane's book. And, oh, Tanja, that would be amazing for Joy to cover I'm Yours. Or for you, because Joy does her acapella. At least she used to do acapella tracks on all of her albums. Yes, and we got a thank you to Michael Dean for all the workarounds. All right.
Once again, what WDP? I'm starting to think of alternative. What did people do? Or when did get? Or when did?
Let's see.
When did you? When did? Shut up, Lisa, please.
Every time.
You know by now. Michael doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. You should know by now.
You should know. All right. So
before, remember? We'll be here all day doing stuff. Still a group, right? I got Purple Rain on the brain. Like, damn.
That's what it's all about. It's the 40th anniversary of Purple Rain. It should be on the brain. That's what we're talking about. So the estate of Prince Rogers Nelson is not affiliated, associated, or connected with the What Did Prince Do This Week book club series. In other words, we are indie, and that means independent. All right, so we played LP. LP stands for Eric
Mm.
Leeds and Paul Peterson from their 2017 album No Words. The name of the song was That's All There Is to It. And it is amazing. And I'm not going to say who's in the band, but so if you want to see this, you can go to the website and scroll all the way down to the bottom. And there is a slide deck there, which will be there after the show because I switched out the slideshows because I do them quarterly. Ooh, love this. Why do people
Hilarious.
dance this weird?
I love it. There you
Thank
go.
you so much, Theo. That's what we're gonna change this, and we're gonna call this from now on. Why do people dance this weird? I love that. That's pretty amazing. All right, so just a really quick recap of what happened in June. So last week we talked about a lot. A lot happened last week, and so we're basically getting into the family songs, and this album called Purple Rain was released last week in June of 1984. Prince started working on some songs for a group called Maserati, and he had time to go see Bruce Springsteen live. So that just happened last week. So if you didn't join us last week, go back and watch that because we're not going to talk about all that again. But for the month of June, there were only 4 studio days, which is super rare in Prince world, and only 5 songs this month, which is also extremely weird to not have more than 5 songs. But that's all we got because we're going into Purple Rain territory, and he has a lot on his plate. Now he's not only making music, but he's also an actor and producing, like meaning like helping figure out what's going on with this film and all this kind of stuff. So he got a lot on his plate while he's still juggling all of his other musical acts and all that. And then we got one
And
award ceremony. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I mean, and that's a big step up for him in his career. Like,
Yeah.
it's one thing to just being responsible for doing an album and everything that it takes to write and produce and perform it, and then also doing other albums for subgroups, but to introduce film into like his whole thing and to all the more people that has to be involved, and it's something he's never done before. That's pretty amazing. And then the fact that the film goes on to be a big smash. It's like I'll sometimes I don't even think of how like much of an upgrade and how much he stepped up into another level in his art and his whole camp to be able to pull that off, like to draw that. Like he had to be. We've said this before, but he's just so ready to give himself into. Okay, I'm gonna be on screen acting. Like let me collaborate with this guy and open my vision up to let somebody else kind of direct me a little bit. That's pretty interesting. It's a big deal for him.
Yeah, so a couple of things also. I mean, he's going to be gearing up to go on tour as well. And so that's like a whole other production, just, getting ready for the tour and tour dates and all that. But on top of that, when you were talking, the first thing that came to mind was I remember when I went to the first celebration and they had a lot of different people, meaning like it wasn't just the musicians that he worked with, but, there were also the photographers. There were and everybody said the same thing. And what they said was, Prince made you do things that you didn't think that you were capable of. And so I feel like Prince knew that of himself, that he was capable of anything that he set his mind to. So this was just him, realizing his vision for himself as well as his career. And I think I actually was listening to will.i.am on Drink Champs, and I never watched Drink Champs, but will.i.am is on the forefront of AI. So, Michael, I know you're interested in AI, and if you haven't watched that particular episode, he's dropping knowledge, so like in terms of how AI is going to affect us. And so and I watched another interview after it, and the one thing that will.i.am said is that it's all about people. Like, we shouldn't be afraid of the technology. It's about what we're going to do with it. And he was like, you don't use new technology to do things that we did yesterday or from times before. It's about, what's, something new, like the new. And I think that Prince was that person, that he was constantly thinking about having a vision and how to move forward and not being tethered to the past. And yeah, So
Yeah.
yep. All right. So in addition to that, we had one award ceremony in June, which was the 3rd annual Black Minnesota Music Awards. And if you go back to the accompanying playlist, you can actually watch it because Prince was on stage with what was left of the time, singing the bird, which was really cool. But then we had a pretty important birthday performance at First Avenue on Prince's birthday, June 7th. So a lot happened in June 1984, differently than what we're normally expecting from Prince, at least since we've been doing What Did Prince Do This Week in 1983 in particular. All right, 1984, we're getting into week 27, which is our 78th episode. I just want to give a very special shout out and thanks to Michael Dean for really joining me on this journey. It means so much to me. I just cannot never stop saying that because I want you to know that you are appreciated. All right.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So this week we had only one studio visit and no new songs. And this is basically what the week looked like according to Duane's book. So on Monday, there were a lot of sax overdubs for those family songs, which are Desire, High Fashion, Mutiny, and Susannah's Pajamas. And then Duane talked about Erotic City, the remix, being somewhere in early July, not really knowing the date. So that's the way it's framed in the book. And then on Saturday, there was a #1. Windows Cry went #1 on the Billboard Top 100 chart. So
Yeah.
yes.
That's a big deal, man. Like it's
a huge deal.
Jeez.
Yes.
Was that his first #1? Or was it Little Red Corvette?
I think it was the first #1. Can someone in Duane, since you're here, can you let us know, like, was that the first #1? I think this was the first #1, but someone school me. I have to say hello to my cousin. Hi, and hope you're okay. And let's see, we got El Michelle in the house, and we have Tariq.
First #1, yeah.
First #1. That's what I thought. And Yo is confirming it. Andrea Dance's 3rd confirming. That's right. So this is a big deal. First
Do you
#1.
remember, because you were a Prince fan at this time?
Yes.
You were into him before this. Do you remember, like, did it feel like, wow, okay, he's not, I'm gonna say arrived, but it was sort of this thing that was sort of like a underground sort of cult thing, that, and then it becomes this big pop. Like, wow, now he's #1. Okay, did you remember that, or?
I did remember it. In fact, so let me put this in context because I know the daggers are going to come out right about now. So I was 13 years old. 13 years old. Remember this, 13 years old. And I started listening to Prince when I was 10. So about 3 years, I'm into my Princedom. And my first album was Dirty Mind. And then I went back to Controversy, then 1999. And I've said this before, so I'm not saying anything new. When Purple Rain came out and it was so commercial, I got super afraid as a 13-year-old that Prince wasn't going to be creative anymore because I thought he was going to be pop, 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 and that the next album was going to be Purple Rain 2, and then the next album was going to be Purple Rain 3. So when, as a 13-year-old, I'm not saying this as me now, as a 13-year-old, this is what I was thinking. And so when Around the World in a Day came out, I was like, thank the Lord. I was like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, because if you have followed Prince's career up until that point, and I said this, I think last week, For You is different from Prince. Prince is different from Dirty Mind. Dirty Mind is different from Controversy. Controversy is different from 1999. 1999 is different from Purple Rain. And Around the World in a Day, thank God, was different from Purple Rain. So this is nothing new. Like, this is what Prince did. Prince changed and evolved. And I was really, really excited about it. But before Around the World Day came out and he got so huge, I was scared. I was afraid that Prince wouldn't be Prince anymore and that he was just going to become like this pop engine, trying to compete with all the other commercial pop people. Because I saw Prince as the underdog. as like underground as a 13-year-old. I mean, I didn't have words for that, but I just knew that he wasn't as well liked as someone like Michael Jackson. Because remember, I think I told you this, in high school, we literally had fights, physical fights over Michael Jackson versus Prince. No lie. And Prince was not that well liked. And if you're into Prince, you were a weirdo. And like Michael Jackson was like, you know, the safe. I'm talking about in terms of high school. So yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So you're saying they was tripping back then too? They was on the, y'all was on the, they not like us.
Exactly.
Beating fans, beating up other people ain't got nothing to do. The ratchet just continues.
It continues. I'm serious. Yeah. I was in Georgia. What are you talking about? Yeah.
I remember them days. Yeah. Because I was MJ. I was in school with penny loafers on. You know what that was about.
So, you know, like, so at the Erotic City Symposium, you know, we talked about like the merry-go-round release of the jackets and the ruffle shirts and stuff like that. I mean, like people, like if you think of that Dave Chappelle, Charlie Murphy skit, people came to school with those Michael Jackson jackets on, and people came to school with those Prince jackets on. And it was almost like, you know, West Side Story in terms of, it was
Lord.
crazy. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, that was the thing. Which side of the gloss you on? You on, you on this? Because they were both glossy, but which side of the gloss? But no.
Yeah, so that was what it was like for me. Now, was I excited to see like that one? Like for me, what was really amazing was the When Doves Cry video. Because again, you have to remember that up until the When Doves Cry video, all of Prince's videos were set on a stage, like he was at a concert. So like he had leveled up his production values. So like with him, all that, like opening those doors and him in the bathtub with all that smoke and, you know, like the flowers on the floor, that was a huge deal. And then crawling on the floor, that was like
headbusters. Yeah, just his visual appearance. You got to see him clearly, and then just his whole style was just it was just like, whoa, what is, you never seen now. It was everything. Who probably people who knew of Prince from 1999 and all that, they saw the you know how it was evolving and he got to this style. But I think when you get to Purple Rain, and I love how he has the title of Beautiful Ones, I think to me that's when you got to see how beautiful this black man is, you know, in a very masculine way. But it's not like Michael Jackson. It's sensual, and it feels like it's raw or something. It doesn't feel, you know what I mean? Like Prince still felt kind of dangerous or something. Like it was just something magnetism about it that you never seen it presented like that, of such a high quality. Like you said, all of that visual, that visualness. For me, that's what sold it. Like I saw that and I was like, okay, I got to see the movie. What is this, brother? Like this, you know, the song is, you ain't never heard no song like that. Like, the harmonies, I'm just going on. But yeah, I mean, it was such, When Doves Cry, there's a reason why it was his first number one. It was such a step up from everything that had came before. And that was the first out the gate, like hitting you over the head, like this project, y'all not ready for. And I think too, if you have to remember, coming off of a Thriller world, that's the only way you could come out. You're gonna have to do something that knocks everybody off the box, because the other side of it was so crazy. You know, you had to give him something you wasn't gonna get this from Mike or nobody else. So it was the next big thing.
Yeah, and also another thing about that video, which we kind of take for granted now, is that whole split screen part towards the end was like mind blowing. It was like, whoa. It's like
dancing.
Yeah, it was like really fantastic. So I don't remember a lot of moments in my life because I have such a bad memory, but I literally remember the first time. I remember exactly where I was when I saw When Doves Cry video, because that is how amazing it really was. It seared it in my mental Rolodex forever. So, Let's see what Chris is talking about. I never understood the rivalry between fans of Prince and Michael Jackson. In my mind, Prince was in his own category. No one pitted Bruce Springsteen and Billy Joel against each other.
Mhm.
That's right. Yeah.
What? Just to go on to his, why do you think there was a perceived rivalry? Where do you think that comes from? What?
Do you really want me to go deep?
That's why I said. That's why I asked. Yes, I do.
So have you ever seen the film Michael Dean Highlander? There Can Only Be One.
Okay, I know where you're going. Yeah.
So I really don't want to go here, but I will go here. So usually when it comes to Black culture, and particularly when it's about trying to assimilate into like the mainstream culture, there usually can only be one. An exception is made for only one. And so I do think that there was like this battle between Prince and Michael in terms of the crossover appeal. And but that's in terms of crossover. In terms of like the verses, I never understood it either, because like for me personally, it's like comparing apples and oranges for me. So because like I see Prince as a musician first and foremost, and not just a musician, but a multi-instrumentalist, right? And meaning like real instruments. Because I know some people say, well, Michael Jackson was also a musician because he could, produce himself in terms of, he would do a lot of what I call vocalizing his tracks. Actually, Betty Davis did the same thing. Like Betty Davis wasn't a musician, but she was a producer. And when she talked to her musicians, she would vocalize all of the music parts. Right. So Michael did the same thing. So some people would say, Michael Jackson is a musician too. I think you have to remember Prince, when Guitar Hero came out, they asked Prince if he, if he wanted to, his music on Guitar Hero, and he said no. And the reason why Prince said no to Guitar Hero is he said that it takes years to master an instrument, and he doesn't want kids to think that you can learn how to play the guitar, like in seconds, right? So like it takes years and a lot of practice to really get to the level that Prince was on so many different instruments. So because I always view Prince as a musician first and foremost, I saw Michael Jackson as something different. And like, again, you have to remember in context of being 13 and seeing the composed, produced, performed, like everything by Prince. But when I look at a Michael Jackson record, I'm seeing Quincy Jones and like all these musicians. Like for me, it was like a whole production when it came to Michael Jackson, versus when I thought of Prince, I thought of this guy in a studio by himself doing everything because he was. So like for me, it was never like, why, like I never got into those fights, even though someone did throw a brick at me in high school because I was a Prince fan and I didn't want to fight. So
Lord.
yeah, and so
what's going on?
Yes. It was serious, Michael. The people think, I'm sure that people who weren't there in real time and don't understand what was going on think that we're joking when we say this, but it was like serious business.
Lord, younger, newer fans, thank God you weren't around. This is what you're dealing with. They was throwing bricks at each other back then.
Yes. Yeah, and I walked away because I was like, I don't want to get in a fight over, like I don't want to get in a fight. I just don't want to get in a fight. And so I left.
All right, D'Angelo Smollett, you over there with these wild stories. They threw a brick at me and they said I was a purple loser.
I'm serious, Michael. I'm serious. And so I was like, okay. And I was just like, I need to get away from this place. So, yeah. So for me, there was no comparison. Like I hated those arguments. And it was just like, why are we even talking? What this isn't really a
Right, right.
valid versus to me.
Okay. So you well, just to go back to the question we are talking about, like, why do we think there was rivalry? And you were saying part of that is there could only be one. I assume you're saying that there can only be one black
Yeah, that's what I said.
artist at a time
Yeah.
at that point.
Yep.
Now, do you? So I agree with a lot of that. I wonder. I think there's two things. There's like what you see from journalism stuff. Somebody mentioned, but I think there's also the fans themselves. Do the who started that? Did the fans
Hmm.
make that rivalry? Because and I'm gonna pull, like, in hip hop, it's always the battle, who's better type of thing. We see that going on today. Like, one of the biggest songs in the country is based off of that energy. But
Hmm.
going back to these guys, right at this point, there was that perceived thing. But I will say like this, as a fan of both of them, I never saw it. I personally never even thought of it like that. I just know that I knew of Michael Jackson's music because I knew of him because from a kid, he had been around forever, and it was always top quality, and it was just that's little Michael, and we followed him forever. You know what I'm saying? We always loved him, and they just happened to be exquisitely talented, right? But then when I saw or heard of Prince, I was blown away. I was like, whoa, this is something totally different. It is just as good, if not somewhat better. It's just very different than the other black man that has captured my attention forever. But then when they both start doing their thing at the same time, as a fan of both, I don't think I ever really thought like, oh, he'll blow this person out. I just thought like, yo, they're both dope. I didn't even think of like, well, Prince knows how to play instrument. Like, I didn't care anything about that. I cared that he knew how to do all that. It made it dope. But I never thought of Michael or any other black artist that is an exceptional singer, entertainer, was any less than the other person. You know what I mean? I don't know if did we ever really do that against any, did we ever think, oh well, James Brown he can do this, so his other counterpart isn't as good. We loved them all. We loved Whitney. Luther was just as powerful to us musically. We played it all. We didn't say, well, we're not going to listen to this because she don't know how to. That's why my point is, do we as fans even care about that type of stuff, or did we just go off of strictly what we felt like, what the music felt like? Did we really care, like, if that person knew how to do a note versus the one who just natural ability?
Right.
It just sounded dope, like, what I'm saying? So I always wonder, like, what the rivalry, did we really care about that, or did we care? Was it some black people that was just like, there can only be one? Like, were we convinced that that's the thing to do, and we are pitting ourselves against each other? So we're bringing that drama to our big artists. Were we doing some of that too?
So I love this comment from JD. And JD says, I think before the Prince Michael Jackson rivalry, there was Rick James versus Prince.
Mm. And what was that about? Like, Rick felt like, I'm the black artist, and here's this light-skinned dude coming in with these white folks pushing him over, and he's copying my style. Isn't that really what Rick was kind of saying? Like, he stole my style, and they gonna make him popular because he ain't dark like me. Let's keep it a buck. Isn't that kind of what Rick's points was? Because
I
he was going
think
in.
so. Yeah, I think so. So Ricky, I see that you're here. I just sent you email. If you could come on and talk about what it was like being a Prince fan during high school, you'd be my best friend. So because Michael Dean thinks I'm lying when I'm talking about there were actual fights about
Oh
Prince's
no,
first.
I know they was fighting. We just talking the
Okay.
brick.
No, it was
But we'll take your word for it.
it was a brick, and that's when I left because I didn't want to get like knocked up by in the head with a brick. So yeah, I remember that day.
Banging
Uh,
on purple over here.
yeah. So going back to your question,
Yes.
I can only answer for me. And the thing is, like, for me, there was no rivalry. Like it wasn't. It was just. I don't know. They were different. Michael Jackson was one thing. Prince was another thing. and Prince was the thing for me. Even though I loved the Jacksons, I listened to the Jacksons,
Yeah, they were our super. I mean, that was
and I
Constance.
see the Jacksons and Michael Jackson as two, in terms of like their, I'm talking about their album output, as like two totally different things. I don't combine the Jacksons with Michael Jackson's solo output. That's my personal.
See, yeah, but it's like the Jacksons was hitting before, like, Destiny, all them albums was banging before Mike. We even paid attention to Mike's solo records. That that was before until Off the Wall came out. But the Jacksons was actually the banging. That was the shit. Like, yeah, that was the shit. And
Yeah.
then Mike just went, so you were like, oh, he done stepped out. You heard Off the Wall. You was like, oh. And then when he dropped that Beat It, Billie Jean, people like the front like they wasn't feeling like, man, we was sprung. That was banging in the middle. I remember being in Houston. I was in Houston again when that came out. They was banging that in the streets.
So, I mean, obviously I heard it on, I saw it on the videos, the video shows, and I heard it on the radio, and it was a good song, but for me, it wasn't Prince.
What song is this?
Beat It.
Oh, okay.
So let's see what Jesse's talking about. When Michael became a pop star, he was nothing like the Jacksons. Yes, I agree with that.
I know I'm just throwing stuff out here, but it's just interesting. They both become bigger than life, right?
Mhm.
And they do, and it seems like they both, and this was just maybe a product of the times, they both dive, it seems, into the androgyny, really toning down their appearance. I don't know if toning down, but sort of somewhat of the bleaching of the blackness, and really just leaning into yeah, like an androgynous thing. It's just looking back at it now in 2024 and being grown, looking at both of them, I was like, wow, what an interesting time of the psyche of the Black star, and what it seemed like he had to do to become that, as opposed to this very masculine type of energy that came before them in a different way.
Well,
In a different way, right?
if C. Lee was here, he would
Oh,
start.
I know.
I mean, he would start talking about Little Richard, because if you've listened to any Little Richard interviews, he says that the reason why he dressed that way was so that the white public would not be afraid of him because of his physical build. Like, Little Richard was tall, he was darker skinned, than white people. And so he had to tone it down, for and I'm paraphrasing, but I'm not making this up. Like, if you go back and watch and listen to Little Richard, so that was happening even before the 80s.
Sure. Yep. Yeah.
So
And it's interesting to see that they both become, the icon, like, but then I'm just throwing what's the reaction from their own people, though? The reaction is, we love that, but we don't even see ourselves. Their imagery is not even realistic to us, like that. You know what I mean? So this hip hop, that energy, that's us. That's where the culture goes. Is, very interesting how it's like, no, we have to be hard. The visual has to be hard, and then it almost makes them try to change their image to come back, bad. I'm gonna be bad, and then gangster glam, and say, like, they gotta, like, okay, y'all see us as super glossy. No, you know what I mean? It's a very interesting how they have to respond back to the reaction to, I think, their image that they have pushed forward, and how the people didn't see them as them. This is my opinion.
So I think it's just like the 80s change. Well, I guess going from the 80s to the 90s, because if you go to like the 70s and you think of groups like Earth, Wind and Fire or the Ohio Players or P-Funk, they did not fit the model of quote unquote, masculine in terms of the way that they dressed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and so Prince wasn't created in a vacuum. I'm
Right.
sure Prince was looking at Earth, Wind and Fire and P-Funk and the Ohio Players because, you know, he covered them and he talked
Mhm.
about them in his autobiography. So I do think, in addition to Little Richard's stance of, you know, having to appear acceptable or to kind of tone down, I think there is also this element of being a rock star, or being larger than life,
Mm.
or just being different, that, you know, Earth, Wind and Fire and, you know, all of those entertainers, you know. And then even if you go back to like some of the stuff that um, James Brown and Little Richard were wearing, you can tie that stuff directly to Prince, like in terms of,
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
like, you know, so it didn't, this, you know, androgyny or whatever, it didn't really start in the 80s with Prince. Like there was a
But I
through.
would think all of those guys you mentioned, though, they were not seen as soft. That's
Mhm.
the thing. So they were threatened. They were seen as threatening. You know,
Right.
that's what I'm saying. Like they didn't, those costumes, we know those was just fly ass outfits that were almost like they were just super pimp style craziness, but we knew they was regular people.
Mhm.
You know, Prince and Michael's presented to us as those aren't costumes. Like they don't live like you. You know, they're superstars. You know, these guys were not superstars to the world. They were just, we loved them, but there was, you know what I mean? Like those guys went to another, they took the game to another level uh of stardom, of iconery, just like, yeah, they weren't even regular, they couldn't be regular people. You know, they had to be different. And we treated them different. Like obviously they treated Michael like he was a Jesus or something, like couldn't go nowhere. You
Yeah.
know, so it's a whole different level of and I think some of the fan base, you just don't see yourself in them. Though you love what they do. For some people, they seem like fantasies. They didn't seem like, oh, I relate more to, you know, Keith Sweat or something. You know, these newer guys came, they didn't have that kind of imagery. They was more you know, the R&B singer evolved into the rapper. He evolved into Chris Brown or something, like, you know, he's way more aggressive. But anyway,
Yeah. All right. So let's get to our slideshow because we actually have a lot to talk
I haven't even
about.
started reading yet.
Yeah, we haven't even started reading that. We have a lot to read because I actually want to read the entire first chapter. But before we do, I found this article in the Minneapolis Tribune from Sunday, July 1st, 1984. And it says Prince hit #1 in Billboard's pop chart for the first time this week with When Doves Cry. The song also is #1 on the Black and Dance charts for the second straight week. So it went #1 first on the Black and Dance charts before Billboard 100. Having sold 1 million copies in 4 weeks, Doves has been, I love how they just like, we don't have time to write out When Doves Cry. Doves has been the fastest selling single in the history of Warner Brothers Records,
Wow.
whose other smashes include Debbie Boone's You Light Up My Life and Rod Stewart's Tonight's the Night. More than 1 million copies of Purple Rain were shipped to record stores last week. Meanwhile, the local rock stars movie Purple Rain will hit the theaters at the end of this month.
Mm.
So, if we were to believe this article, When Doves Cry was the fastest selling single in the history of Warner Brothers Records up until this point, which is a big deal,
Wow.
if that
That's
is true.
crazy. Yeah. Wow.
Yes. All right. So, we're going to get our reading on. It's going to be a long read, and I'm going to read the whole thing because, one, everybody should know that I love me some Eric Leeds, and we're going to do this. So, I'll try to take some breaks. And Michael, if you ever want to stop me at any time to talk about something just to break it up, I will appreciate it.
Gotcha.
All right. So let me move from here to here. Okay. Monday, July 2nd, 1984, Desire, Sax. Okay.
What page are you on?
Oh, yeah. We're on page 351. Sorry about that.
351. I got to put my
351.
reading glasses on. I can't see.
Is everybody there?
Lord.
351. It's going to be like at church. Somebody's not at 351, but it's okay. You'll get there eventually. Monday, July 2nd, 1984, and sex overdubs were done for all of these songs: Desire, High Fashion, Mutiny, Susannah's Pajamas, and they were all done at Flying Cloud Drive Warehouse, Eden Prairie, Minnesota. Producer Prince, artist, the family engineer, Susan Rogers. I need to get some new glasses, so my eyesight is all messed up, so I can read better without my glasses right now. Okay. This is Eric Leeds. The quote: Prince wanted a vehicle that was not something that was going to be branded as Prince, but would still be a musical forum for him to do more overtly R&B influenced music. You had an R&B influenced band that was going to be fronted by a white guy and a white girl. That was something that was a bit out of the ordinary for that time. Prince said, we can be funky and we can be R&B, but let's go get some of that Duran Duran money. Eric Leeds. Now, we have all heard about some variation of this, go get some Duran Duran money. So he was serious about that.
So he was chasing the bag.
Yes. Okay. When Prince began seeking a sax player, Alan Leeds suggested that his brother Eric would be a great fit and share examples of his music with Prince. Eric Leeds was quickly invited to fly in from the ATL to work on a few tracks. I walked in that day with horn in hand, and Prince was there sitting in a little makeshift recording area of this rehearsal hall, and Alan introduced me to him. And Prince asked me if I wanted to maybe just take a rough cassette of the tunes and listen to them for a day or two to get familiar with the material or whatever, or did we want to just record? I was a little cocky, and I said, no, I'm here. Let's play. Let's record. Apparently, he liked that. He just kind of smiled at me funny, and I never met Prince. I was not particularly fan of Prince's, so I did not come in with a starry-eyed thing. I certainly respected him, but I did not come in here thinking this was going to be the most exciting day of my life. I figured this was an opportunity that I'm certainly going to take every advantage of that I can. Let's play some music.
Hmm.
What do you want to say about that?
Nothing.
Okay. Okay. All right. Just let me know what you do. The first track that involved Leeds was Desire. Basically, I was just soloing. He was constructing solos with me, very much producing and very much looking for a certain kind of vibe. The horn lines, any written lines, I pretty much remember were his. I think the horn lines, I want to reread this. Any written lines, I pretty much remember were his. I think he was not really completely sure what he was looking for yet, because I was playing an instrument that he didn't play. I had the opportunity to kind of help define what my role would be along with him. High Fashion was the second track, and it gave Leeds a chance to expand the sound of the band. My saxophone solo on High Fashion is probably hands down my favorite solo I've ever played on a Prince song, which doesn't say much for me. I haven't reached that peak yet. I don't know. It just happens to be my favorite. When they were recording Mutiny, Prince had an idea. It's so funny. I don't know about you, Michael. Whenever I'm reading something, I can hear it in my head go, and I was like, mutiny, I'm taking over. So, like, sometimes I have a split. Okay, Prince had an idea for the main sax line. Leeds, remember, he ran over to the piano for a minute and just kind of came up with a line and said, play that. And I said, okay, fine. And we doubled that. But the solos, which were basically what I was doing, it was more solos than anything. That was up to me. And sometimes we'd piece solos together. I might start a solo and get 16 bars into it, and maybe I'd get into something I didn't like or he didn't like, and it would stop there. And I'd say, okay, the first 8 bars are cool. Let's pick it up from there. Now, when I'm reading this, sometimes we piece solos together. So at the first Prince conference that Kirsty Fairclough did over in Manchester, it was called Purple Rain, REIGN, and they had Dez as their keynote speaker. And I never knew that until that conference, which was 2017, that the guitar solo from Little Red Corvette was actually pieced together. Like they pieced together, that was like mind blowing to me. That is such an iconic guitar solo, but it was actually constructed by Prince from Dez playing those parts, which I was just like, whoa. So it seems like he did this a lot, like constructing solos from different parts. So I don't know. I think it's very cool. All right. The final song of the day was a track that would eventually become Susannah's Pajamas. This is Eric Leeds talking. Susannah's Pajamas had no melodic idea at all. So what basically ended up being what you could call the melody line was just me. He said, well, here. He just played the track and I just went for it. There was a point in time on one of the songs, I'm not sure which one, where I said, well, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going with this. I hadn't heard the songs. I didn't hear any one of the songs completely through before we recorded. That's pretty darn amazing. Literally, he just hit the record button and I was just playing along with it. So if a tune changed keys, it went to a bridge at a point, I didn't know whether it was coming up. So I stopped him and said, maybe I could get a little better idea what I'm going for here if I get a better sense of the structure of the song. And he laughed and he says, no, you're not going to get that chance. So I said, oh, okay, that's the spirit of the thing. So that's what we did the first day. He had used Eric on a couple of things and really liked him right away, recalls Susan Rogers, and knew that this was going to be a valuable addition to his music. And this is Eric Lee speaking, I found it very, very easy to work with him, found it very challenging and very enjoyable. I actually had a ball that day. He was a guy who was serious and knew what he wanted, and I feed off of that. And fortunately, I was giving him something back that he was digging. A rough mix of the session was completed and recorded to cassettes, which were sent to various band members, including singer Paul Peterson. And this is St. Paul speaking. Basically, I would get tapes at my mom's house and I'd have to learn his rough vocals as best I could, becoming familiar with them, and then David Z would produce them. This is Susannah speaking. Prince asked David Z, Bobby Z's brother, to be the engineer and producer for the record, and we're talking about the family. Prince would be the executive producer, but Prince said, it's really up to you guys to get this record done. That made it even more enticing because Prince was like, here's some songs, you guys go. David Z would pack up all the boxes of tapes and fly back and forth between Los Angeles and Minneapolis to oversee the recording of all the replacement vocals. David Z was an old friend, somebody who had a talent for getting, and everybody should know, but if you don't know, David Z is Bobby Z's brother. David Z was an old friend, somebody who had talent for getting the vocal performances together, and he would sit there with a single all day and get their vocals right, recalls Susan Rogers. Paul was musically extremely gifted, but he had never been a lead singer. It's not the same as doing background singing. You have to have that something extra, and that takes years and years to develop. So obviously, Paul needed someone extremely experienced. At that point, Prince wanted to delegate some authority, remembers David Z. And I am going to read this quote because I think it's important. So then he wanted me to do Paul and make it sound like Prince singing. So that's what I did. He gave a guide vocal, meaning Prince. We had a copy of it to make him sing like that, which was very difficult. Paul is a very good singer, but it is very hard to imitate another singer, even if you're a great singer, and all the twists and turns that go into the vocals. I remember the first day we recorded vocals, Paul phoned his girlfriend about an hour into the session and said that he'd be home in about 3 hours. 12 hours later, we were only about 3 lines into the song. He was like a melted pool of butter in front of the microphone, and his girlfriend kept calling, where are you? 3 lines, 12 hours.
It's just interesting. It's just like, why though? I mean, the album was great, but it's just. I wish that the cats who was there from day one, who put in the work and helped build it all up, I wish they would have gotten the opportunity to almost free reign to get down, like this, like, and these beautiful St. Paul, beautiful musicians, talented, but it's just interesting how them cats coming in after, the foundation been laid, cats done got fired, and then you're just like, okay, hey, and then it's like, this dude, you got to be in the booth 12 hours, like you said, to do a couple of lines. You know what I'm saying? Morrison would have had that, pop, 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 cha, cha, added some extra spice to the, swag to it. But it's just, that's how the game be. Like sometimes your boys don't get to stay, and then the next people come through, and then they'd be like, okay, y'all gonna do what you want to do. That's why I know they was. That's why I know they was probably like, man, this what you trying to redo the time. It's interesting. It's just interesting to look back at it now, like, as much as
Yeah, I know, but I don't. Yeah, I don't think that, I mean, based on what we read last week, I don't think that Prince, and I mean, based on the sound of the family, I don't think that Prince wanted to redo the time because he knew that that was impossible.
Well, I'm just saying, like, this was a thing that was, well, I don't have the time, so let's do this. You know,
Mhm,
like it still has the same energy. Hell, we're gonna diss the time in this.
mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and then we're gonna get some people that was just who just got put on that was in the background. Let him be the front face of it, and dude is struggling to do the vocals because you know what I'm saying. Like you want him to do them like him. So I'm just saying it's funny how stuff like that be working. You know, but that's the journey.
That's the journey. All right, we're not done yet. Almost. Okay. This is Paul Peterson. He had a definite concept, and Prince would put down rough vocals, and then I was actually hardly ever in the studio with him. It was mostly David Z and myself. We go in after Prince had written a song and put the basic tracks down and added a rough vocal, and we used that guide track for attitude and phrasing and different things like that for sure. At that point in time, we were definitely still playing his characters. I love that.
Mm,
And this is Eric Leeds. Prince makes his music as if he's a movie director and everyone has a role to play.
mm,
Prince defines the script and every aspect of it, and he chooses the people. Those were the rules. That was it. He knew he was taking a chance on having Paul be the front person, which was a calculated move from a marketing design. He wanted this band to be an R&B band that would serve for him the same purpose at the time did, but to have the added benefit, hopefully, of being able to cross over to a
mm.
market.
Interesting. Interesting.
Again, that Duran Duran money.
So I want to do what the time did, but let's put a white face on it because it's gonna blow. But orchestrated by a black man. That's interesting. I mean, it's very savvy.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, I see how the game works.
And I mean, and then, well, I used to read all the time that The Idolmaker was one of Prince's favorite films. And so if you've seen that film, this makes a lot of sense if he was taking that as a partial blueprint. Okay, St. Paul says they built me.
This reminds me of a Carmen Electra move too. Like I can see
Mhm.
that guy's mindset thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna just get the white girl rapper, gonna blow up."
Yes, because I don't know how you feel about this, but I'd be interested to hear what you say. I really would have loved if Robin Power could have come out instead of Carmen Electra.
Interesting. Interesting. I could see in a bizarre world, Robin Power would have been the original Cardi B.
Yeah.
Would have came out from Prince.
Yeah, I loved her energy. In Graffiti Bridge and like the songs that she was performing and all that. So yeah, I feel like this is only my personal opinion. I feel like Carmen Electra took Robin Power's spot. Like that could have been Robin Power. That's my personal opinion. I don't know that to be true, but I wish it would have been
This conversation will go a whole other place. So I'm gonna let you go.
Okay. All right. All right. I love, okay, never mind. All right. Eric Leeds. Basically, what he did was bring Paul Peterson in to mimic him, and it certainly worked to Paul's credit. Prince wanted to make us look like these little rich kids who can be funky. The first day we did a photo shoot, I looked at myself in the mirror and said, oh my God, this is not what I went to music school for. But it was fun. The majority of the family album was recorded over the course of the summer by Susan Rogers and David Z. Because of the layout of the warehouse, different methods of recording the tracks were required, according to David Z. This is David Z. We had to record drums with headphones because there was no control room, just a board in the middle of the room. It was rough, but it came out pretty different. It was hard to do because you couldn't tell what it was going to sound like until you played it back on the system. We couldn't play the speakers while we were recording. We had to record with headphones and had to judge it that way and then kind of throw the cards up in the air and see how they dropped. But records shouldn't sound all like they're done in a studio because then they all start to sound the same. My theory is that if you use some place that's different, like the one Red Hot Chili Peppers did in a house, it's going to sound different than if you did it in the same room as somebody else did their drums in with the same microphone technique. So that's one of the reasons why it did sound different. that in the way that we use an orchestra, a la Claire Fisher. All right. So, a really good meaty chapter. And
Mm.
again, for any newbies who are listening, that gives you a really great overview of how the family record came to be. So, yes. All right. Next up, unless there's anything else you'd like to say, Michael, about that.
Just saying, it's you see how much stuff he's got going on in his world, right? Like this, and this is all before the movie comes out, and
Yeah.
Purple Rain is already dealing with working with this other group, and yeah, it, so St. Paul's doing these sessions, and this is before Purple Rain even drops. So you're
Say
not
that,
even,
Michael.
you know what I mean? So it's not the superstar Prince. This is the Prince that I go hard. We're hungry over here. You know what I'm saying? I got stuff cooking. You don't even know what this is about to be at this point. Oh, you just want number one. Well, you just want number one? Pop. Oh, this might be kind of serious. Like, so they don't even really know where what's really about to pop off. And they're already working
Forging.
on something else. In the time, who's a major part of this movie, they're already out the pitch.
Yep.
And he doesn't even know. See, that's interesting. Bear with me for a second. When the movie comes out, the surprise of the movie is Morris Day, right? Like, whoa, he almost takes him. So Prince didn't even know that was going to happen, and he's already. Oh, they're probably not going to be nothing. I can replace this quick. And so it's interesting. So this is what the thought process, because I wonder if he didn't know, like, yo, Morris is about to be a superstar. He about to blow. What if he would have maybe tried to keep him?
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because obviously this to me feels like, yeah, oh well, I'm the only star in this town. And I can get the background white boy who just joined the group and be the star. Y'all tripping. So this
Mm-hmm.
it's just interesting. Like, this is before it all really went crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really crazy to think about. Yeah. All right. So next up, Michael, you're going to do some reading. It's very short though compared to what I just read. So only one page, page 355 for Erotic City Remix. 355.
All right, here we go. Early June 1984, Erotic City Remix. Kiowa Trail, I say right?
Yeah.
Home studio, Chanhassen, Minnesota. Producer Prince, artist Prince, engineer David Z. Quote from David Z. I remember we did editing at his house on a lake, and he had this studio in the basement. And that day was like 100 degrees in Minneapolis. I uncharacteristically wore an Hawaiian shirt, and the machine is under the speakers. And I'm rocking it back and forth to hear where the kick drum is to cut. I said, I don't really hear the kick drum right here. And he says, that's because your shirt's too loud. Hilarious. Prince is hilarious. David Z and Prince spent the day remixing Erotic City into a dance version. I wasn't a big remixer. He just wanted me to work on it. Prince knew and trusted David Z. They've had a long working relationship, starting with the demos Prince created for his first album, and Prince felt comfortable enough with him to relax. Prince can be definitely conversationally accessible, he explained. He can be screaming and yelling in the studio and laughing when he stands on a couch and yelling out things and jokes and talking and talking and talking. That's very, I mean, I love why he says it like that, to really let you know, like, Prince is not some mute just standing there. He's feeling it, you know. You have to turn around to see if there's anybody else in there. Who the hell is he talking to sometimes? Yes, it just depends on what he wants. Later, when he got successful, he got hit on by a lot of people, especially wanting to use his name to escalate their career. So he got really paranoid about that, and he would rarely talk to people because that's part of his thing. And he learned, I think, early on that even his own family, you can't trust everybody. Damn, that kind of has a dark Take on status. August 29th, 1984, the extended version of Erotic City, 7 minutes and 24 seconds, was released as Erotic City Make Love, Not War. Erotic City Come Alive. On the B side for full length, Let's Go Crazy. Other remixes were created, but they remain unreleased. I actually question why we've never heard those. Maybe they will be on a special edition at some point. The edited version, 3 minutes 43 seconds, was released on the B
53?
side. Say it again.
53?
53, or
You
was
said
released on the B side for Let's Go Crazy single on August 18th, 1984. And I land my plane.
on July 18th instead of August. So the single was released July 18th, and then the 12-inch was released August 29th. That was a long, almost a month later.
Wow.
That's kind of crazy. But there were different release schedules back then. Everything wasn't so instantaneous like it is today.
Right.
All right. So let's see what Chris is saying. So Prince sounds like the classic ambivert. I didn't know that was a thing. Ambivert, introverted at times and extroverted at other times. That makes a lot of sense, depending on the situation and the people around him.
I mean, I've never met Prince. I feel like he was probably just like, I mean, I think of him just as he was raised and the things he probably went through as a young child. Uh, and like anybody, probably was like, well, if you don't know certain people, you keep yourself guarded. You know, I don't know them. You know what I'm saying? But then it's like when he's around people that he's comfortable with, it's just like anybody else. And then, I think he says something in that quote where you say, after a while, when it became successful, you start kind of feeling like, oh, you're not really around me because you like me. You're just trying to get, you're chasing a bag opportunity. Then you start getting that distrustful type of, I'm not gonna say nothing. Like y'all trying to use me. So I can see how, and again, from a person who was never a superstar before, this is all new to him. Like becoming becoming an icon. Like it's not his behavior is not surprising to me. Like most people want to be private to a degree. That's a normal thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Like y'all don't know me. That's how
And
the Prince was giving. Like y'all don't know me. Like, you know what I mean? Like not in a bad way, but just like yeah, you don't know me. You can't even speak for me. That's the kind of energy he felt like he had to me. Like, oh, you thought it meant that? How you don't know me?
yeah. So I like this comment from Ricky, that we got to remember that Prince was right now only 26 at the time, and
That
over
too.
the course of Purple Rain, 26, 27. So very young. And then El Michelle, we actually talked about this maybe 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, how if
Mhm.
Morris and Jerome would have been in Under the Cherry Moon. So we're not going to like
Right.
go clutch our pearls, because I think that would have been really interesting if Morris would have been in the lead and Prince
Mhm.
focused on the soundtrack. It would have been a very different film, but a different film I think I would have enjoyed. It's like going back to Heat, and I've said this before, because every time I think of Heat, I think about what if De Niro's and Pacino's roles were reversed? Like, and
Mhm.
how would that play out in Heat? So the same thing, like I could think about that in terms of Under Cherry Moon. It would be, I think, a very different film, but still enjoyable, because I've watched Purple Rain 3 times so far in the past 2 weeks, and I'm gonna go and watch it again next week. And I kept thinking to myself, Morris is really integral to this film. Like it wouldn't be Purple Rain without Morris. I mean, he really shines. Like he brings a levity to the film that is
Yeah.
very needed. Otherwise, it would have been dark, 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 dark.
I don't
So
think I think in a perfect world, Cherry Moon would have been Prince and Morris. And we would have probably gotten the camaraderie and energy that those brothers had when you heard earlier in the book.
Hmm.
I don't know, with Susan Rogers, and it was like when you got around those dudes and they just started going back and forth, everyone was rolling. I think that's what Cherry Moon probably should have been, that energy, and
Hmm.
that was the energy that created, the time and all that. That probably would have been like if them two would have really been able to do that on screen, it would probably been crazy. Like, you know,
Crazy.
oh man, been so funny. They would have been a whole. I could have seen them be as much as Jerome and the Morrison, but I think it was probably really if it would have been Prince and Morris, it would have probably been hilarious. This has been just as hilarious as the records that they made together that were funny.
Yeah, indeed. All right. So let's go to our next reading, our final reading, but we still got our, salon part to do. Where's our timekeeper? We're at 1 hour, 21 minutes in. It's
Yeah,
okay.
look, it's like we're running along.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to turn to page 355. This is super short. Saturday, July 7, 1984. And Windows Cry reaches #1 on the Billboard Top 100 chart, marking the first time that Prince's music sat at the highest position. The B-side was 17 days. Windows Cry would stay at #1 for a month, becoming the best-selling single of 1984.
Wow.
All right, so I got to move this over so I can actually see, so I want to be able to see. This is a copy of the Billboard Hot 100, so you can see that what was in the top 5. So, and then also you can see that the previous week, Windows Cry was at 3, and it's been on the chart for 6 weeks at this point. But number 2, which was number 2 last week, was Dancing in the Dark by Bruce Springsteen. And then look who's at number 3, the Pointer Sisters.
I was just listening to Pointer Sisters last night.
Yeah, Jump for My Love.
They don't get enough.
They don't get
People
enough.
don't talk about enough. The Pointer Sisters hits.
Yes. And
Soul,
speaking
pop.
of, I prefer the Pointer Sisters cover of I Feel For You over Shaka's. And I know I'm going to get mail for that.
With that. Interesting.
Yeah, listen to the Pointer Sisters version of I Feel For You. I'll make sure I put that in the company playlist. So you definitely need to listen to it. It's my favorite version personally, in terms of the covers.
Like fire. Boy, that, oh man, listen. That was like some country funk. That was the original.
I love that. Yes, and look at who's at number 5. I love this in context of our conversation.
Yes,
The Reflex.
It was hitting.
Duran.
That was
That's right.
It was cold. I liked it.
I love
style.
Yeah.
It was like as a kid to me, or they ended up doing a James Bond thing because to me they had the swag of like James Bond. They were suited, kind of real stylish players. But it's like, oh, this white dude is playing. And it was overseas. I was like, oh, that's the international player. You know what I'm saying? Duran, them dudes is cold. That's how they came off to me. I don't know if that's how they really got down, but came off real suave. What was it? Simon Le Bon? I mean, he sound like something like special agent. You know what I'm saying? Smooth, hungry like let me stop. Them niggas was hungry like the wolf.
Yes, indeed. And I love
Nile Rodgers produced the oh wow.
Yes. I love that Kim points out, thank you, Kim. That's why we are a community. That last week the Reflex was at number 1. So the Windows Cry took over the number 1 spot from Duran Duran.
I get it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, Big Sexy. It's always a pleasure to have you here. All right. And then
I don't remember Self-Control, that number 4.
I'm glad that you're saying the same thing, Michael Dean, because I was like, I don't know what this song is.
I remember that one. It must have been on the other radio station.
I mean, I'm sure I would know the song if I heard it, but it's by Laura Branigan. Does anyone remember the song without Googling it?
I remember her. She had another song that was big back then. Laura, I remember that. I remember her name. It was so 80s. Damn. So 80s.
All right. So actually, I think yesterday or sometime the Billboard on X/Twitter posted about When Doves Cry being number one. And so they actually posted the whole chart. And I wanted to see like where's Sheila in this chart. So when Doves Cry is number one, Sheila is at 56 and have been on the chart for only 4 weeks so far. And the previous week, last week, The Glamorous Life was at 71. So got a big bump from 71 to 56.
Wow.
So that was interesting to see.
Somebody just put it in the chat. Gloria. Yeah, that was the song. Laura
Okay.
Branigan. Gloria. Gloria. Ah, man, y'all taking me back.
Oh my God. Okay.
Original J-Lo.
All right. Okay. So we are at the end, but not the end of our time together, but our end of what did Prince do this week? And so far in 1984, 36 new songs total, 72 studio visits total. We won't go through these because we talked about them last time. Let's just get to the music break because of time. First of all, I want to give a special thanks to Lee Christian for pointing this out to me, that Tom Oberheim is turning 88 tomorrow, and we got to give Tom Oberheim a hearty happy birthday. And I know some of you guys are going like, why are we talking about this guy? And that's because Prince used a lot of Oberheims. Now, I'm curious, do you know who's behind guitarcloud.org, Michael? Because I don't know.
I've
Does
never heard of him before. No, I don't.
So guitarcloud.org is an amazing website that basically lists a lot of the instruments that Prince played on various albums.
Oh,
and
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you go, I'm going to show you the actual, this one here. It will go down and tell you like what albums it appears on.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Controversy, Dirty Mind, 1999, Purple Rain. So this is the OBX. And then before that, there is an OBXX. And
this
that
is all dedicated to Prince, this entire site?
This whole site is just Prince. So you can browse by like guitars, what guitars Prince played, what keyboards were used, what basses, effects, amplifiers, drums and percussions, a lot of information. So I want to thank this. I don't know who's behind it. So thank you to whomever. I mean, and it's been around for a long time, actually. It's not new. So
again, this is this unlocks the codes, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay.
Yeah. So Prince used the Oberheims a lot. And then there's also the XA that appears in 1999, Purple Rain, Around the World in a Day, Parade, Sign of the Times. And there's also additional information about each of the synthesizers. So there's a lot of detail. There's a lot of detail for the musicians in the house about the specifications, all the technical information about all of these keyboards. So again, this site is
our cloud. If I'd have had this back in the day, it would over. Man. We would have been okay. We got to get that. We got to get that. Shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super dope. So Oberheim is actually really important right now to what we're talking about. Purple Rain. It's a lot of Oberheims. 1999, which is what we talked about last year. And what did Prince do this week? So Tom Oberheim needs our happy birthday. So that's the reason why we're thanking Tom Oberheim for all the sounds.
Just give him one of those and give him another.
That's right. So what I invite you to do, especially those of you who really want to be nerdy, is to go to the site and click on the Oberheims and read the additional information, because we're running out of time. I was going to, but we're running out of time to do that. So yeah, we are, Maria, I love this. P fans are such nerds. I love it. Yes, we are. All right. So in addition to the Oberheims, so Oberheim OBX, OBX XA, OBA8, SX. And again, you can read about all of these on guitarcloud.org. Next week at the Blue Note, if you're in the tri-state area, Liv Warfield is going to be at the Blue Note accompanying Ray Angry, who's affiliated with the Roots. So I hope that you will support and come out and see Liv live, because she is incredible live. So last week, I mentioned this at the top of the hour, last hour was I went to go see Hiatus Coyote at the Brooklyn Paramount. And I want to take a moment just to talk about the Brooklyn Paramount, because it was literally just reopened. It has been renovated. And previously it belonged to Long Island University. And they've turned it back into a performance venue. This is a picture from 1948, the way that it looked, back in the day. And this is what it looks like now. This is is not Photoshop. This is what it looks like. It is stunning. So if you have an opportunity to see a show at the Brooklyn Paramount, for a very long time, the Fox in Atlanta was my favorite venue. And I know some of you guys are like, why are you talking about the Fox? One, it was where Prince performed his very last concert. So that's that. So we're, exactly. So it's important, and it's a magical place. If you've never been to the Fox in Atlanta, I highly suggest that you go see a show there. Really, really impressive. But in your tri-state area, I think this is a close second. Nothing will compare to the Fox for me, because, I have so many amazing memories there. And Prince performed there too earlier, before the piano and the microphone. So Brooklyn Paramount, this is what it looks like. Stunning, stunning, stunning. This is the lounge in the Brooklyn Paramount that's dedicated to Ella Fitzgerald, which I absolutely love. And again, this is an actual photograph, which is...
You know what that looks like would be perfect? You're like, you're sitting down, you come in with a drink, and then they go boom, 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 boom. I look like the Ballad of Dorothy Parker, where he was sitting down eating.
Yeah.
Oh, he was a waitress at the promenade. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it sure does. Thank you for that. Cool little spot. Exactly. And I love, because we were talking about Little Richard earlier, they have this picture of Little Richard down in the lobby. The bathrooms, Michael Dean has a lobby. Not a lobby of the venue, but
King Richard. He's like, hey, what happened?
He looks fantastic. And they also had pictures of a lot of other musicians. And I love that they have this Ella vibe going on. So I had to take a picture in front of the Ella one. So definitely you want to go to the Brooklyn Paramount just to see the renovation. It's literally just renovated. And and also we want to support Hiatus Coyote for their brand new album, Love Heart Cheat Code. I don't know. I think you might like this, Michael. Just check it out. It's different, like all of their stuff is, but it's a vibe, as the kids say. And I really, really love it. And they have 4 different color vinyls for people who are into collecting vinyl. They have a blue one, they have a green one, they have a marble white one with blue streaks, and I can't remember what the 4th one was. So really good record. Highly suggest that you listen to it. And they are currently on tour. After they left Brooklyn, they went to the ATL, and they're going to be next at the Brooklyn Bowl in Nashville, Tennessee. I didn't even know that there was a Brooklyn Bowl in Nashville, Tennessee, until I think there's one in Philly now too, a Brooklyn Bowl. So it's kind of cool that they're expanding. And if you've never been to the Brooklyn Bowl in Brooklyn and Williamsburg, highly recommend that you check it out. It's a cool venue, cool spot. And I love to see that they're expanding to other cities, and you can see that they're going to be in a lot of different places in the US, ending with Oakland, California, at the Fox Theater there. So definitely check it out. And as Karan is saying, the album is fire. I have been a fan for 10 years. It's my favorite. And I've been with them from the beginning too. I love, 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 love this album. So let's see. And Dr. Claus said, I went to Guitar Cloud, and on the page for the OBSX, there's a link to an interview with Lisa Coleman. In it, she mentioned some of the presets Prince used. There's a lot of information on Guitar Cloud, so don't sleep on that. And yes, the lead singer vocals are crazy. And Reggie says, I love them. And Karan says, Prince loved them. All right. So don't sleep on Hiatus Coyote. And again, I'm going to keep promoting Corey Henry, Real Music by Real Musicians. He's currently in Spain, will be tonight. And tomorrow he will be in Madrid. Yes, Napalm, who is the lead singer, is crazy in terms of vocalists. Welcome, Mira. All right. And seen them in ATL during the first US tour. Oh, amazing, Tanja. Yes. So we got a lot of Hiatus Coyote fans. That makes a lot of sense for lots of different reasons. Okay. We're going to dive into the purple world with the quickness. Andre Simone just released a second single within days of releasing a first single on Bandcamp. So if you want to get your Andre Simone on, you can. And the name of the song is Hot Funk, because it's all about the summer. And the previous one, if you missed that, was Funk is Alive. So if you can go to andresimone.bandcamp.com to stream it or buy it, or however you want. We want to support Andre. Again,
can you go back to the other picture there?
Sure.
Is that a barbecue grill? Okay.
Yeah, it's a barbecue.
Okay, I see what's going on. Right. Say barbecue on the funk. I got it. And then got the legs up there. Okay, I'm picking up the messages. All right, Andre.
That's right. This is very hard. Yes,
I'm feeling it.
Yeah, so we want to support Andre. We love Andre Simone, so make sure you check both of these out. Hot Funk. Oh yeah. I love that actually.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, Kim is saying it does have. Thank you for pointing this out. On the corner font vibes. Some of you guys might be saying,
yeah,
it's Miles Davis record. Yes, I feel it. Do you feel it too? Yes, I can feel it. All right, and Brenda Bennett. I thought I'd change this. I guess I didn't. Brenda Bennett was recently on Funk and Stuff, and it's actually a 2-episode series. So we always love hearing from Brenda. And they actually also recently interviewed Jill, I think about a month ago. So a lot of interviews with the ladies. If you want to check that out on YouTube, Funk and Stuff. And I have both of them in the accompanying playlist. And let's see. Whoops. Then I'm really looking forward to the COME Symposium. I know some of you are too. So if you haven't registered, make sure you register just by going to this bit.ly PrinceCom 30 link. And it's going to be Saturday, Sunday, August 10th and 11th. And again, I'm going to add some additional stuff to the playlist that I forgot to add for various reasons. And next week, we are going to be reading pages 356 to 357, a very short read compared to this past week for week 28. And specifically, we are going to be talking about the 12-inch mix of Erotic City and a likely edit, the release of Ice Cream Castle, as well as Prince going to a Jackson's concert. So, yeah. So basically, hold on one second, Ricky. I will put it in the chat. It is guitarcloud.org. It's really simple to remember, but I'll put it there. There you go. Guitarcloud.org. Thank you, Arlene. I really appreciate you in case I didn't have the quick fingers. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. So get your reading on. And Michael Dean, is there anything else you'd like to say? If not, take us out.
Nope. I think we are good. It's been a great show this week. As always, thank you, D'Angelo. Thank you to everyone in the chat and at home and in the streets and wherever you are at. Had a great time. But with that said, work it like a job. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.